Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. I hope you guys are doing well. There's another paid request, this time for Lucas. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, reactions, reviews, re-reviews, randomness, out of the blueness, commentaries, whatever it may be, feel free to send them either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And couple things. Number one, I apologize if you hear noise. It's the heater. It's just too cold right now. I need it. Also, the angle is because I'm downloading some stuff on here and I just want to keep track of it. So that's here, and I figured I would record a video or two while I'm doing it. But Lucas, one of the requests he sent in were the fact that he knows I'm a big fan of the 2003 Ninja Turtles cartoon. I love the characters. I grew up with the characters. The Ninja Turtles themselves I grew up with in the 80s cartoon, then to the 1990, 1991, those movies, the live action films. And then as time went on, around 95, 96, I would say my love for the characters died down only because the cartoon was ending. The last film that was made at the time was part 3, which wasn't that great of a film, at least to me. And there was the live action show, The Next Mutation. I didn't have Fox, so I didn't watch it. And there's really just nothing going on. There were no other movies. There's no other cartoons. It was just kind of a dead zone for the Turtles for quite a few years. At least 5, 6 years. Until 2003, Peter Laird, one of the creators, Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird, they created the characters. Peter Laird. Kevin Eastman went off to do Heavy Metal magazine and all sorts of stuff. So Peter Laird at that time was the sole owner of the Ninja Turtles, and said, okay, let's do a cartoon, a new one. Only it's a little bit darker, it's a little bit more action-packed, well, a lot more action-packed, and more associated with the comic books. I was familiar with the comic books at that point, and I love the 2003 cartoon. It's become one of my favorite interpretations of the Turtles and my favorite cartoon, because I love that it's still a kids cartoon, but there are moments where it shines. It shines in terms of a little bit more serious, or a little bit more to the characters, or it's still a show. But it's just there's a little bit more here and there to give it some more merit that I think it gets. I do think it's an underrated show that no one sadly talks about anymore. But I was about 4 minutes in. In this video, he wanted me to talk about top 10 favorite characters in the 2003 show. Number one should be obvious for those who know me and those who have followed my channel. The number one would be Raphael. I like the character. I've always enjoyed the character for different reasons. In the 80s cartoon, it's because he tried to have like a Bill Murray sarcastic streak to him. And then in the 1990 movie, as well as the sequel, and especially this show, is more the New York Brooklyn, accent, which I think is a nice touch for the character. Makes them differentiate even more compared to the others, and it fits. He's much more action-driven, angry guy, hothead, which I can understand because I've been that way many times. He just seems like the type of character that would fit in like an 80s action film or even a 90s action film. Of the four, that would fit the most in that. mold. And in the 2003 cartoon, I think they did a really good job where he's got a good heart to him. He makes mistakes. One of the serious moments, which is based on the comic book, that I'm glad they put into this, is very early on in the first couple episodes. Mikey, his baby brother, keeps picking on him, keeps messing with him, keeps pushing him, pushes him so far that he grabs him and, without even thinking of it, grabs something. He's about to smack him, and Leo has to stop it. And Leo's like, he doesn't say this, but he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And he's, Raphael's shot, and, it shows that he's a flawed individual. He's got inner demons. He wants to vanquish them, though. It's still a cartoon for kids, so Sally, like a lot of stuff, they don't go full tilt. I wish there was a show that did that. I would absolutely adore it. But, maybe one day. Maybe one day. Sorry, if you wonder why I keep moving, it's because I was doing some other stuff in this chair where I've been sitting for like 3 hours, and then I should have stretched before I did the video, so that's my fault. So I'm doing this just like my old version of yoga. I don't know. I'm just being silly. There's nothing wrong with being silly in a video. It's just a video for YouTube. But yeah, Raphael I always enjoyed. What I like about the show, it really does showcase he's the protector. There's countless times where he comes in and he protects his family and protects his brothers. There's even a line where Raph tells Donatello, "Watch your back." And Donatello turns and goes, "Isn't that what you're for?" But in like a nice, sweet way, not in an asshole way. At the end, it proves that he is the protector of the group, and he is worthwhile in that role, and I think they did a great job, and he didn't come off as a pussy, unlike the 2012 cartoon. Raphael, especially after the first season, like the first season is fine, but after that, he just came off as a pussy. The 2012 Raphael, he just came off as a sissy. Just, oh, there's a bug, I'm gonna run away. Like this Raphael, he doesn't like bugs, but if someone's attacking his family, he's gonna go in and fucking rip it apart. Even though he doesn't like it. The Raphael in the 2012 cartoon, he would run away. There's an episode later on of that show where he was afraid of riding a fucking horse. A horse. And there's the heater. Just the heater's like, "Let me warm you up, You cool down, I'll warm you up, move on." But yeah, I love the Raphael character. I think they did a good job representing him in the 2003 cartoon. I just wish his solo episodes were stronger. They're okay, but I wish they were stronger. And he didn't have a lot of solo episodes. But I'm greedy. But number 2 would be Mikey. But of most of iterations, Raph and Mikey would be my favorites. That goes with the 1990 live action films. That would go with the 80s cartoon. I did for different reasons. Like Raph and Mikey, I always thought had a nice, fun bond. I always thought of it as there was a TV show I grew up with called The A-Team, where Raphael's like B.A. Baracus, Mr. T, and Michelangelo's like Dwight Schultz, Howling Mad Murdoch. And on that show, how they care for each other, but they have this sort of dynamic. I thought that's kind of what I saw in the show. I thought that was endearing, because you didn't really see that in the 80s cartoon and such. But I thought that was really cool on the 2003 show, where Mikey would make fun of Raph, and Raph would chase Mikey, and Mikey would specifically play jokes on Raph. I remember there was an episode later on where they were in the future, and Mikey made this weird ventriloquist doll of Raph, to piss off Raph. And some people find Mikey annoying. I didn't. I thought that he was entertaining. I thought that, he fit the baby brother jokester role well. And there are moments that the character gets his time to shine. Like there's this fighting tournament, and technically he wins, but he won by luck. But then there's another episode where he has to have a rematch, and the bad guy's like talking trash about his family. And that's when he kicks in the high gear and kicks the guy's ass. And yeah, at times he's a bit too exuberant, voice acting wise, for the actor. But I thought he played the jokester well. I mean, my favorite Mighty will always be Robbie Wrist and the first two 90s well, he's in all three of the 90s live action films. I think Robbie Wrist voiced that character perfectly, but I like the voice actor, and I thought Mighty, he has a lot of silly moments, but he has moments where he does shine as well. He's not just a total doofus fool 24/7. So that's number 2. Number 3 would actually be Casey Jones, because I thought they did a great job representing Casey Jones in this. I know in one of these books I read that Kevin Eastman, he said one of the inspirations for Casey Jones was Jack Burton from Big Trouble in Little China. Now, I don't know if that was bullshit or not, but that's what I read. And this Casey Jones, I can see that. So, and in the 1990 movie that Elias Koteas played. But I thought the voice actor they picked for Casey Jones and the way he talks and acts, I thought at times he did have a bit of a Jack Burton vibe to it. And I thought he worked well with Raphael, that character, and you saw a bond with them. There are moments he got some chuckles out of me, but he does have some badass moments in The Shredder Strikes Back Part 2. The Turtles and the Foot Clan are fighting this April O'Neil's pawn shop. And Casey comes in with a motorcycle and goes in and like crashes through the window and goes over here, goes over there, kicking Foot Ninja ass. Got his hockey sticks, got his hockey mask. Like, this is Casey Jones, got the long hair. Not that bullshit in the Out of the Shadows, the 2016 movie where you had the guy from Arrow, Green Arrow, as Stephen Amell as Casey Jones. Like, who the fuck is this? This is a guy who was a cop, and he's got short hair, and I don't give a fuck if he's Green Arrow. He doesn't fit as Casey Jones. Not personality-wise, not voice-wise, not anything-wise. But of course, the entire movie sucked, so why am I surprised? But this, I thought, captured Casey Jones rather well. Like, this, along with Elias Koteas in the 1990 movie, to me, are the best representations of Casey Jones. Number 4, favorites would be Donatello. I think they did a good job representing Donatello. I don't remember the name of the voice actor, but I thought he fit the voice. It was pitch perfect voice for Donatello. I think they did a great job with his character. I mean, his character is soft-spoken, and he's smart, but he's easygoing, and he definitely has a personality different from the other turtles, as you should. Don't make them the same guy. And also, there are just moments that made me smile with the character. Like, there's a bit, I forget which episode, where there's a bunch of Foot around him, Foot Clan members, and he's got his bow, and he's looking at the scenario. Oh, I could do a stunt from one of my favorite movies. And he tries to do the stunt from The Matrix Reloaded, and it doesn't quite work. I thought that was a cool reference. I actually see, Donnie liking, just like I do, The Matrix Reloaded. Also, there's, what was it? He does have arguably the best episode. There's an episode called Same as It Never Was. It was part of a story where the Ninja Turtles, each one was thrown into a different dimension. And Donatello was thrown to an alternate future where Shredder had took over the world. It was 20, 30 years later. He finds this version of his brothers, this dimension, where Leo is kind of blind, and Raph has one eye, and Mikey lost an arm. Splinter, Casey Jones are dead. I did dark for a cartoon. And by the end, everybody's dead except him and an older April O'Neil. Now, of course, when the others die, you don't... Again, it's a cartoon. The company releasing it is literally called For Kids. But, I mean, for what they got away... I mean, it's pretty surprising. I remember when I first saw it, I went, wow. It's sad that an episode of a cartoon took this shit more seriously than live-action films that cost hundreds of millions of dollars, like the ones Michael Bay produced. It's pretty pathetic when you think about it for a split second. I'm like, nothing in the 2014 or 2016 films was at all an iota of drama compared to that one episode of that cartoon. And Donatello was the focus. I was actually jealous. Part of me was like, I wish it was Raphael as the focus. But again, did a great job, Donatello. And the few interactions he has with Raphael, I thought actually worked well. Like, there's an episode, Hate, H-A-T-E, which just stands for some kind of like militia group. And Donnie and Raph have to go after him. I thought that was a fun episode. It was nice to see those two play off each other. I wish to have seen more. But yeah, I thought Donatello did a great job. Number 5 would be Leo. Leo is usually lower on the list because, well, to be honest, because I've never been a big Leo fan. Maybe because I'm such a big fan of Raphael, so he's like the opposition, so to speak. But, how do I put it? Sorry, I have to do two things at once. But it's one of those things where, God, how do I put it? At least in this, they don't make him a dickhead. Leo, of the other characters, he's the one that I'm like, Raph, I liked. He's kind of like a John Rambo type. I always thought if Raphael was human, he would be John Rambo. That's how I interpret it. If Raphael was born human, he would have turned out like John Rambo. Like, that's how I look at it. And Mikey, he's the fun-loving guy, and he works well with Raph. That's sort of Donnie, soft-spoken, smart. All these neat toys he creates. Casey Jones has a bit of that jab burden to him. Leo's kind of could be, the bland guy, the leader, the goody two-shoes. But again, at least in this, I thought they did a good job. They didn't make him a dickhead. He wasn't unlikable. There was a lot of times where he would just want to have fun with his brothers, as well as times he had to be a leader. And they actually did some nice character work. Like, there was a season where he got stabbed in the shoulder, and his family almost died, and he didn't save them, and they were kind of saved by fate and luck. And he's pissed off about that, understandably so. And then throughout the whole season, it was like season 4, he would get moody and dark and angry and upset, and this carried through, not just one or two, like throughout the season. And I thought that was kind of a cool idea. It made me jealous. I wish Raphael went through that. But until ultimately Splinter said, listen, enough's enough. You gotta go, and you gotta meet with this other guy called the Ancient One. You need to clear your head. You can't lose your shit. You never lose your shit. But let's see, I'm trying to think. Sorry, I didn't try and do two things at once. But I'm trying to... Like, I thought the voice actor for Leo did a good job. I didn't... The voice acting, for the most part, I don't really have much issues with. I thought... I say for the most part, they did a fairly decent job with the voice acting in the show. I thought they were... They fit their roles well. There's... Especially the four turtles, there's no voice that made me go, I don't know if that fits, or I don't know if that would do it, or I don't know if he would sound that way. I thought, again, whoever did the casting, I thought they did a great job. And, Leo, of course, he gets big moments because he is the leader. But, again, at least there's a lot of nice moments between, like, him and Raphael. Like, after he was in a coma, and they're on the farm, and they're trying to recuperate. And Leo's getting pissed because he's got one arm, because the other's in a bandage trying to make new swords, and Raphael helps him as he drops a hammer, and they share a nice look. Subtle. You don't have to bonk on the head. It's subtle. Raphael starts helping. It was a nice little sweet moment. Little moments like that add up. So, I really did like that. So that's number 5. Number 6, I would go with Splinter. I enjoyed the interpretation of Splinter. I definitely felt the loving father. I definitely felt the character who really worried for the safety of his sons. That his family comes first. Out of the 2012 cartoon of Splinter, I know he cared for his sons, but he just seemed like a bit of a dick at times. At least to me. And don't get me started on the 2018 cartoon, where Splinter looks like a fucking pig. He looks like a pig, and he acts like a pig, or a guy who lives in a pigsty. That's like the worst interpretation of Splinter in that 2018. I don't know what the fuck they did with that. No wonder it only lasted like 2 seasons. Is dog shit. But Splinter here, there are times he gets his badass moments, and he's able to kick-ass take names, and help his family out, fighting Shredder. He's a guy who holds his own. You get why he's the master, but at the same time, he treats his sons well. You even had a little bit of that father mentality where this high technology, he's trying to do the best, he can't quite understand it, he's getting more pissed, and he goes down and tells you figure it out. But I did not in a dickhead way. So I liked Splinter. I thought, once again, the voice actor they picked, it was a nice choice. Number 7, Agent Bishop. I don't think he was ever in any other iterations of the Ninja Turtles. This is the first time they did that. I'm guessing it's because of The Matrix. You gotta remember, this show came out 2003. So Agent Bishop showed up maybe 2003, 2004. But they were probably making it and thinking about it maybe a year before. Geez, animation, all that stuff takes time. And what came out in 2003? The Matrix sequels. Mr. Anderson, welcome back. We missed you. So Agent Bishop is pretty much Smith. Agent Smith from The Matrix. Which I'm fine with, because I thought whoever voiced the character definitely had a little bit of that Hugo Weaving mentality. I like the design. It was refreshing to see a new villain that wasn't just the Shredder. And with the villain, he was worried about threats from the skies, but he had cool, swift, smooth movements of martial arts. He put his glasses on again. He's sophisticated, but at the same time, he'll be ready to kick your ass. And then he's sort of a gray area with the character as well, which I was fine. I thought it worked for that type of character. And then as the show went on, including the fast forward, the one in the future, you learn a little bit more about Agent Bishop, which made him even more of an interesting character, his background. So yeah, I thought they did a nice job establishing a new villain. So it wasn't just Shredder. And again, I like the design, the look, but also I'm a big fan of the first three Matrix films. So having a villain that's pretty much Agent Smith, I'm doesn't bother me at all. Number 8, I would put Leatherhead. Leatherhead, this was the first time. Well, technically, in the 80s cartoon, he had Leatherhead, but it wasn't like he was in the comics. It was a different interpretation where he was just a straight-out villain, and he was like a Cajun. Had that losing an accent. I'm going to fight you. You want to fart me? No, I'm going to fight you. I mean, I can't do the accent. But it was cool that we finally got to see an interpretation of how Leatherhead was in the comics. That he could get these rage-filled moments, but he's actually a very sweet character who's smart, kind of like Donatello, and they have a little bond with each other because of that. And he becomes an ally for the Turtles going forward after some friction in their first or second meeting. So it was like a nice ally for the Turtles to have, Leatherhead. Again, the voice actor they picked and the way Leatherhead looks, like he's savage and he's as brutal as you could get for a cartoon of this nature, but when he's more sophisticated, the way they have his demeanor, got this lab coat, maybe even some glasses. I mean, I thought that was I thought they did a nice job. A lot better than fucking the Lizard and the Amazing Spider-Man. Number 9, I would put Baxter Stockman. Just again, this was the first time we got to really see Stockman like he was in the comics. Because in the comics, he was black. And he was like the scientist. He's kind of like Miles Dyson, like an evil Miles Dyson, from Terminator 2. That's always, in a funny way, I thought, man, in the live-action films, if they cast Joe Morton as Baxter Stockman, it would fit perfectly. Because, again, Baxter Stockman kind of, if Miles Dyson was really evil, if Miles Dyson in T2 did want Skynet to win, it would be Baxter Stockman. But again, for some reason, in the 80s cartoon, they race swapped it. So he's not black anymore, he was white. And then, I don't know if in the comics he turned into a fly. I don't know. That might have been the 80s cartoon. Which I don't mind that idea, but I would see this other interpretation of, the scientist that April O'Neil worked for. That's the thing, in the 80s, in the comics, April O'Neil worked for the scientist. It was the cartoon that made her a reporter. And then in the 1990 movie, she was a reporter. But again, it was cool to see. Again, they couldn't get away as much as the comic books did, Sally, but at least to see some type of interpretation of the cartoon, the comic books. And yeah, I thought the voice actor they picked worked well. I recognize. I can't remember the voice. I know he sounds familiar. But one of the interesting things about that, if you watch the show consistently throughout the seasons, when he's with the Shredder, anytime he fails the Shredder, the next time you see Baxter Stockman, he's losing another limb. So if he failed cuts, the next time you see him in another episode, he's missing an eye. Or he's in a wheelchair. Or it got to a point he was the fucking eyes in a brain in a jar. So in your head, you get the idea that Shredder's been And whoever's been tearing them to pieces pretty much each time is pretty dark. Again, what they could do away with in this show, in this time slot, they did. And it was actually pretty, interesting. It was like, when you put two and two together, you go, whoa. Yeah, each time we see him, he loses more and more of his body. And it led to, again, an interesting episode later on around season 4 where he created a new body, but the new body kept melting. I guess that interspersed with some mind hallucination things going on. He kept seeing his mom. And like he would go after April O'Neil, but thought it was his mom. It was like this kind of psychological, and you get some like his fingers melt, his skin's melting. I mean, it's pretty crazy episode for a cartoon, and that's what I mean. This is a cartoon, and it still has limits, Sally, but if this is what you do in cartoon, imagine what you do with a movie and make these characters into three-dimensional characters. You can do it. So, I mean, that's number 9. I thought that was interesting what they did with them. And number 10, Shredder. I put Shredder in there because I do think he was an intimidating villain with the way he looks and the way he behaves, and he's just willing to kill no matter what. I was fine with the different interpretation they did, which was he was still the one who killed Master Splinter Sensei. It's still Oroku Saki. It's just the twist they did was in the comic books there was these aliens called the Utroms, these little things that get into an android body. That's pretty much the inspiration for Crane in the 80s cartoon. Well, since this cartoon was supposed to be a bit more like the comics, they brought the Utroms back. But then Shredder, you find out, was an Utrom as well. Was this little creature that was in this android body of Oroku Saki. And a lot of people got pissed off about that. Especially at the time, even a bit now. I don't know, it didn't bother me as much as it did other people. It just didn't. It just didn't. I don't know if it's just because I still see Shredder. And when he takes off, I still see Oroku Saki. And he's still the guy that killed Splinter Sensei. And it wasn't like when the 2014 film, at first they were going to have William Fichtner as the guy. I mean, let's be honest, the original script, I know people say that wasn't real, but I do think that original script was real, where the Turtles were aliens, and it was Colonel Schrader. Now, maybe they didn't film that, but I would not be surprised if that was the first initial script. When Michael Bay went out and said they're from another world, I bet it was that script they were going to use. And then when they're like, the fuck you talking about? They're like, And even then that movie got reshot. Because there's the 2014 film, which is a piece of shit, there's pictures of like Megan Fox and Raphael. Raphael's in this like the trench coat, the hat, the 1990 movie that he wore. In this like parade where there's these other characters, like I don't know, SpongeBob, other stuff. So I mean, there was different stuff done, and I do wonder how much was changed, and what was changed. I do wonder about that. Not that it would be a good movie, but just curiosity. Like, were action scenes reshot? Were they cut out? I know Kevin Eastman had a cameo got cut out, which I'm like, well, good, because you're the same motherfucker that said these fight scenes are like the Raid Redemption in an interview. What the fuck, Kevin Eastman? Fuck you talking about? But I'm sorry, back to but Shredder. At least Shredder he looked like Shredder, he acted like Shredder, he talked like Shredder, he was intimidating, you could buy him being deadly. This is the thing, I like James Avery in the 80s cartoon as Shredder, but like the cartoon is meant more for a, let me put it this way, the 80s Ninja Turtles is a, this is an action show. I would say that's the big difference. The 80s cartoon had action, but it's more of a comedy. It's more of a goof comedy parody, while the 2003 is much more of an action-driven show. And Shredder's actually intimidating, scary. Like this is a guy you don't want to mess with. And cartoon-wise, that was the first time to see that. And because, like, in the 1990 movie, well, they did a good job with that Shredder too. But just with this, because there's more episodes, so there's more room to breathe. You get to see more of how evil this guy is. I mean, that was refreshing to see. I mean, the whole 2003 cartoon rejuvenated my love for the characters. It truly did. And nowadays, they're up shit creek without a paddle. But Seth Rogen is going to save it. So yeah, I'm like, yeah. Save it like a sperm bait to shoot it on your face. The 2003 cartoon, I don't think we'll ever get a physical release because Nickelodeon, they inherited it by buying the property from Peter Laird back around 2009 or so, give or take, 2008, somewhere around there. And sadly, just how it is. But yeah, Raph, Mikey, Casey, Donnie, Leo, those would be my top 5. Again, I like Agent Bishop, Leatherhead, Splinter, Leatherhead, Bowser's Diamond, Shredder. I thought they did a fairly consistently good job with a lot of the characters. Like April O'Neil, I don't mind April O'Neil. She didn't make the top 10, but I liked April O'Neil. Not all the villains worked. There was the trash. I forget the fucking... There's a 1 or 2 episodes with this trash guy, Junkyard. I forget what it's not the Junkyard dog. Like one episode was called Junklantis. That's a villain I didn't care for at all. There's a few others, but I mean, not all the episodes are going to be winners. But the majority of them I do enjoy. And again, I like the characters. I like the interpretation of these characters. I think the voice actors and the designs and animation was a great fit. And overall, yeah, they did a great job with it. So, with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.